Hey everyone, I think we're live. So welcome to the Shelf Space Book Club October live show, where we have Tori from the channel Tori Morrow joining us.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
And we are discussing Leviathan Wakes today by James S.A. Corey, which is book one in the epic Expanse series.
Yes.
So I'm very excited. I'm seeing quite a few people in the chat already. So hey everyone, thanks for joining. Andy, hi, Andy.
Oh wow! I switched over to the comment section. I just saw like the other tab, and I was like, "Where is everybody?" But oh my gosh! Wow! Hello, everybody. They are here.
So fun. So before we get started, Tori, if you want to introduce yourself and your channel, and then give us your top 3 favorite fantasy or sci-fi books.
Okay, yeah, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Tori from the channel Tori Morrow, and I primarily read adult science fiction, adult fantasy, and sometimes I'll dabble into, YA sci-fi every now and then, but mostly adult sci-fi fantasy. So yeah, if that sounds like a good time, stop over. And some of my favorite books in the genre, oh my gosh, I love The Poppy War. That was a recent read for me, so it was so good. Love The Poppy War. Definitely the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. And anything so far by Octavia Butler, I've just really loved. So Parable of the Sower, yes. Kindred. Yeah, really, really good. So highly recommend those.
Awesome. Yes, Tori's channel is fantastic. I'm going to have it linked in the description box down below. So definitely go check her out. She's fantastic. So again, thank you all so much for joining. I know a couple of folks might be joining that maybe haven't read the entire book yet. So we're going to keep the first part of this bit of the live show spoiler free. So I will let you all know once we start talking spoilers when to click off if you want to read the book based on our spoiler-free thoughts. So that being said, Tori, do you want to give us your rating of this book and then kind of give us your spoiler-free summary of your review?
Oh, sure. I love this book. It's just off the top, just right off the bat, I love this book. Easy 5 stars. My first experience with this book came last year. I read it almost a year to the date at this point, maybe give or take a few weeks. And I was so engrossed with the world building and just the different cultures on the different planets. And I love that. I love the aspect of the culture and the characters. So yeah, it's just the epicness of it is so good. So I love it.
Yes. Awesome. Your first time reading it, did you give it 5 stars?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 stars this time and last time too. So.
Okay. And then everyone who's joined us, leave your own review, your star rating down in the comments so that we know kind of how everyone loved it or didn't love it. Let us know. But that's so awesome that it was like almost a year to the day that you had read this for the first time. So my thoughts, I actually overall did have a lot of fun with the book, but I do have some things that maybe reduced the rating just a little bit. And I think it might have to do with some questions that might get answered in future books. So it definitely might, improve upon reading more of the series. Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing some 4s.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing some 4s.
Let's see.
Some 5.
4. Okay, probably 4.5. Jessica loved it. Yay, gave it 5 stars. Roy, you enjoyed it. 4 stars. That's awesome. Yay, you guys, I'm seeing a lot of really good reviews.
Strong 4-star. Oh, that's awesome. I was not pleased with the ending.
Yeah, 4.5. Okay, I see a 3-star. Tara gave it 3 stars. Ashley, 4.5. Heck yes. Leslie, yay, you loved it. Gave it 5 stars. This is awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm glad that a lot of you enjoyed it. Andy gave it 4 stars. I actually ended up giving it 3.5. And I'm still marinating on that. I still feel like I have to be removed from it a little bit to see if it ends up being more positive or negative the more I think about it.
Yeah.
Right now I'm like sitting at a 3.5, and there were different times in the book where I had different ratings.
Different emotions. Yeah. I mean, like the further you get from the experience of reading it, I feel like the epicness of it just like slowly keeps washing over you, and you just go back with all these questions that you had about the characters. So I mean, yeah, it might change, but yeah.
Yeah, and keeping it spoiler free, I think for me, some of the stuff that I really, really loved was the beginning of the book, and how just immediately you're in the action, and like huge stuff happens that instantly raises the stakes, right?
It's like a mystery right off the bat, almost like we get that chapter in Julie's perspective, and you're just like, what in the world is going on? And I feel like from there, it's just, it took off for me.
Yes. Charming. This is interesting. So strong 4 stars. I loved it so much, but just was not pleased with the ending. I definitely want to talk about the ending in our spoiler talk, because that for me was also the part where I was like, no. But yes, I loved like the beginning, how it just took off and raised the stakes so high, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid for our characters now. Like, I don't know who's gonna survive. Keeping it as spoiler free as I can. Immediately so scared. And then like halfway, I think you know maybe what I'm talking about when I say the tone shifts very much, where it all of a sudden becomes like a sci-fi horror almost. And I loved that.
The sci-fi elements of it start coming out a lot without spoiling, in the second half of the book, because I feel like in the beginning it's this like really great but dark mystery, and you're just kind of getting to know the world and the characters. But then for the middle, like, and the rest of the book, is definitely this shift for like sci-fi horror, and it's so good.
So I was like, oh my God, I was not expecting that, first of all, because I went into this book thinking it was just like a sci-fi mystery novel, and I was kind of like, oh, this is like, I'm so glad that this was the book club pick for October. But I was not expecting it to be like a spooky book. And then that tone shift happens. Something happens. I'm like, this is such a good Halloween read.
It actually is a really good blend of like that kind of old school noir and sci-fi horror and mystery. So it starts blending genres a lot towards the second half of it. But I love talking about this book. It's so good.
So I was like so impressed with like the first half of this book. And I will say, I think where it started to lose me was kind of the ending. And I don't want to say anything too much until we get into the spoiler section. But the ending is kind of, I have so many questions about it. And that's probably where, if I read the rest of the series, I'll be satisfied.
But the rest of the series, like the first book is just, I think it's such a great setup. I've only actually read book 2, so I still need to read. There's like 9 of them now at this point, but I read book 2, and I mean, it just expands so much. You get different environments, you get different planets in the next one, and it just depends on the story a lot in book 2. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you keep reading. It's so good.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to keep reading the series for sure. I'm like very interested to see where it goes after that ending. I'm seeing Marie, I didn't expect the horror part, and I'm typically not a fan. Okay, I was not expecting that at all. Such a nice surprise.
Good. This multitasking is hilarious. I keep looking at you, and this is so new for me, everybody. So I'm like, I see the chat rolling on the side. I'm like, oh my God, where does my focus go?
I know. It's hard to like make sure to like keep this conversation going and then include the chat. It's awesome. Hey, Erin. Erin's joined. Hi, Erin. And then I will say, like, the other spoiler-free thing I can talk about a little bit is character. The characters kind of in the first half of the book, I had a problem differentiating between Holden and Miller. They read very similar to me at the beginning, and then when they meet, it's like two totally different characters.
Because definitely when they meet, I think once that moment happens and they meet, it puts into perspective just how different their characters really are. Like how like on the morality scale of things, and it's so clear at that moment. So I think when they meet, it puts a lot of things into perspective about both of them. So I think that's what made it a little bit easier too.
Yes, exactly. And that's where I was like, okay, the character work is totally changed for me halfway through. I was very happy with it.
Yeah.
Just the side characters, for some reason, I like wasn't like emotionally like invested. Like characters like Naomi and Amos and Alex. I know, I was expecting to like feel like so much for them, especially after everything that happened at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like emotionally like, oh, I need them to live.
I love Nate. So I definitely agree with you for like a lot of the other characters on Holden's crew, like I'm forgetting the pilot, and the one that died really early on. I didn't really feel anything from them, but I love Naomi so much. I feel like she's kind of the heart of the crew, the center of everything, and she just kind of like balances Holden out in a lot of situations. So I love them. I love the relationship between the two of them. So
yeah, and I think that as the series goes on, I'm probably just going to get like more and more invested. I can see where Naomi could become like a fan favorite, right? Like I could definitely see myself just loving her. Yeah. But for some reason, especially like well, that's a little bit of a spoiler, so I won't say anything. But yeah, I don't know, for some reason, I just like, I'm seeing a lot of people love the side characters. So I'm glad that like, I'm probably the
Nerd narrative is like all caps. Amos is the best character.
Oh my God. Yay. You love Amos. Okay, good. So that's good.
Yeah, Naomi is my faves.
I loved Naomi. She told Holden everything I was screaming at him in the book. Yes, I do agree with that. I did get very frustrated with Holden. You get to love the Rosie crew so much. Yeah. Okay.
I agree with that. They stand out a lot in book 2.
Okay. Yeah. And see, that's where like 9-book series, I'm probably going to fall in love with the characters. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Kaylani. I like Kaylani. I feel like the book felt really long when I was reading, which made I will say like even though I think the book is very action packed, like I definitely was like very invested, especially halfway through when the tone shift happens. I was like, oh my God, I need to keep reading.
Oh my gosh, what's happening? I really love. So we're talking about some of the side characters. I really love Julie. Like she in her own right, she's such a. I mean, she's one of the main characters, essentially. And well, in my opinion, I love her so much, and I love getting to see her from Miller's perspective. So if we're talking favorite characters, I love Julie. Yeah,
and I'm curious, have you watched the TV show?
So I've seen the first season. Have you watched it?
Not yet. And so now I'm really excited to watch it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So the first season follows the first book pretty accurately and ends where almost like the first book, around where the first book ends. So it's such a good series, but I haven't watched it beyond there.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm wondering if that's going to help me fall in love even more so with the characters if I see them in the show. And
I think so.
Okay.
And to see more things brought to life. The belt, the way they portray the belt and the belters in the show
and stuff.
The way they're brought to life, it's just, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So catching up on the chat. Hold on. I have so much to say about Holden.
I have a lot of thoughts about Holden.
I have thoughts about Holden too. Naomi and Amos are my faves so far. Good. Yeah. Hi, Monica. Had a lot of issues with this one. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm looking forward. Yes, me too. I'm definitely looking forward. Oh, Kayla's also an Octavia Butler fan. Awesome.
Oh, I have not read Wild Sea yet. I want to though.
Oh, I just read which is the one? Oh, yeah, I read Wild Seed. It's very good. It's so different.
I need to try one up.
It's good. Was anyone else mentally exhausted after it? Yes. I think, especially if you binge it, it's...
Yeah, so the first time I did binge it, because I actually was in a really bad reading slump when I read this book.
Oh, man.
Like, this is what got me out of the reading slump, and by the time I finished it, I was just like, what is going on right now? What is life?
Like my brain.
Yeah, it's too much to process.
Yes. And even though it's like very, very action packed, it's also like a dense writing style just because it's so different than our own world.
Yeah. It's a dense writing style. And the world building is dense. It's so, I can't even think of anything in the sci-fi realm that I've read yet on this scale. I'm pretty sure I'm blanking on something, but I mean, this was pretty epic for me. So just kind of taking in all that. It is mentally exhausting.
Yes. Yeah. And I will say that this book definitely doesn't handhold you through any of the world building. Just drops you right in and expects you to kind of keep up. And that can be exhausting. Yes. Definitely understand. Loved the book very much. Oops. Oh, it skipped.
Wow. See, oh, that's great. A lot of Octavia Butler fans.
Yay. Love the book very much. 4.5 stars.
Exhausting.
It took so much for me. Yes. I say the horror part was fun. Overall fun. Yeah. I gave it 3.5 stars, Monica. So I hear you. Let's see. Do the names mean anything in the story? The ones I was wondering that actually. I didn't notice the Holden one. That's a good point. I forgot that was in the Rye. Dresden, I was wondering.
Yeah. The only thing that I can, the name of their ship later on in the book, I'm not sure if this is a spoiler or not. The Rossi. Yeah. They did mention that was a play on like Don Quixote. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I read, oh my gosh, I had to read that in school. I haven't read like traumatic memories, but I think it really plays to like that goofy kind of nature that Holden has. If anybody's familiar with Don Quixote, like he like goes around shouting at trees or windmills or something like that. And I don't know, it just like, it kind of plays to, I think, Holden's like humorous aspect. So that was like a little tie-in, I think.
Yeah, because I did notice a couple of like pop culture references. The one that I really noticed was from Dune, where they reference Fear is the Mind Killer at one point, which I thought was super fun. Oh yeah, Charmaine, the Dune reference. Yep. Okay,
talk about a book that is mentally exhausting. I'm reading Dune right now, and every time I come out of it, I'm just like, I need to like reorient myself.
Yeah.
Back into life. I'm like, what is going on?
So funny. So I think that's all I wanted to say, spoiler free wise.
The Rossi is the horse.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember Don Quixote very well. I just remember it being like a goofy, like, oh my gosh, my professor's probably screaming at me right now, like a goofy travel narrative and just so over the top. So I definitely see that reference from Leviathan Wakes.
So do you have anything else like spoiler free that you wanted to add before we get into spoilers?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
I think that's it for me because I want to talk about spoilers now. So if you haven't read the book yet, for folks in the chat, and you're interested in reading it, I recommend clicking off because it's definitely worth reading. And now we're going to get into full-on spoilers because I have a lot to say. So bye for those of you who are tuning out. All right. So I think the first thing I wanted to talk about was some of the stuff at the beginning that I found so incredibly epic and awesome and reminded me a lot of like Game of Thrones. And I kind of laugh at that because Alan over at the Library of Alexandria is always like, everything's referred to as Game of Thrones. It's just like Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah. Actually, he blurbs everything too, doesn't he? George R. Martin. His name is on. He blurbed it. He blurbed this. His name is on every blurb.
But it's like immediately the Canterbury gets blown up and they lose the entire
crew. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I was worried because at first I was like, oh, there's a lot of characters to keep track of. And then they're all gone.
And then they're all gone. Yeah. So they got rid of that really quickly. So it's like a whole slate of characters just.
Yeah. So that was awesome. That was like when I was like, okay, this is serious. It's raising the stakes immediately. I don't trust them because now I don't know who's going to survive.
Yeah.
And the other moment was Shed getting his head cut off.
That happened so fast. Yeah.
Oh, I had to reread it like 5 times.
I did gloss over that part the first time. I remember when they finally left the Mars ship. When they finally left and Chet wasn't with them, I was like, what just happened to him? And I had to go back and like read how he just got blown up. Well, his head got cut off
Absolutely shocked. So, that's so funny. One part of Jane's essay Corey used to work for George R. Martin. That's very funny. So maybe they did take a note from Game of Thrones and just aren't afraid to kill off characters because my goodness. Shocking.
There's a lot in the chat right now. Oh my gosh.
So
the Donager, yeah.
Yes, the Donager. That's what it was. So that for me immediately caught my attention and raised the stakes, and I really enjoyed that. And then when we got to Eros and the casino planet or the casino asteroid.
Yeah.
Oh.
Everything was a mess there.
It's like the minute they find Julie in the shower.
Yeah.
Described, and it's like goo.
Goo everywhere. It's just, to me, that was one of the more visceral moments of the book. And also in the back of my mind, when you're just kind of in Miller's perspective and learning more about Julie, there's always this thing in the back of your mind that you hope maybe she's still alive.
Yes.
And then, so the whole time I'm just like, what happens if they find her? What's that gonna look like? So it was kind of heartbreaking when they finally get to Eros and she's there and like just kind of.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I was shocked because you kind of end up falling in love with Julie as a character, especially like from the prologue. You know that she's a fighter, she's a survivor, she's going to do what she can to stay alive. Like you want her perspective more from the prologue, and then Miller getting to learn about her even more. Oh my God.
Mari said, "Poor Shed." He was a weak character by Felicia.
Yeah, that's funny.
I kind of felt that way too about Shed, though.
Poor Dad. I mean, but it was shocking that and it wasn't like an easy death. It was like a gruesome, disgusting
death. She died alone. I mean, it was just horrible. Yeah.
Oh God, it was very descriptive.
Yeah, they were.
The Eros scenes were so visceral. Oh my God, it was so disgusting. Some of this, I'm not a big fan of body horror. It doesn't it doesn't scare me, but I just get so grossed out.
Yeah, you get grossed out and you just kind of clench up a little bit. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah. So it was so gross, but I really loved that part of the book. That was where I was like, oh my God, is this going to be 5 stars? Because I love Eros.
Yeah. Eros it's a turning point just for the reader, but also in the story. Like Eros, I mean, this is the point where finally our characters are all kind of coming together, and it just kind of sets us up for what this, proto-molecule really is. And so I loved it. It's good.
Yeah, I love the tone shift. So I can definitely see how if you weren't expecting that, like if you signed up for like a noir kind of mystery book in space and then got vomit zombies instead, I can see how that would be like
a little turned off by it.
Like what? But I personally really, really liked it. I liked that shift in tone. But where it started to lose its steam was when Eros became possessed by the proto-molecule and started moving. I was like, I don't understand.
It's like dodging attacks, and Jessie's like, oh no.
Because I just picture it looks so silly in my brain, and that probably doesn't help because I'm just picturing this huge rock in space, just whoop, whoop, whoop,
no, it does. The shift to that is really abrupt. And I feel like I can even see the explanation for that not even being really clear. Like all of a sudden we find Julie, and then all of a sudden the Arrow stuff is so much creepier. Yeah. In this show, they make her blue, and she's kind of glowing, and it's a little different. But I can definitely see how that shift would turn people off, especially when it starts moving. It's like, wait, hold, how is it working? What is happening right now? Yeah.
Yes. So that for me, but I will say with some of the vomit zombie stuff, I was very concerned about watching the show after all of that was described, because I was like, I don't know if I want to see this. like on screen. So that makes me feel better that you just said that it's like more beautiful.
Yeah, they make it a little more like ethereal.
Okay.
In the show.
Okay. Was Julie a figment that Miller created, or she's someone projecting after she got wired into Eros? Okay, are you referring to the end of the book, Leslie, when she's like the one controlling Eros, like piloting it? Because I pictured that as she was actually there.
Yeah, I got that very literally, that she was like in control of Eros. But I mean, to that point, that's such a good point, though. Actually, like the way that he just became completely obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And just kind of wanted to, to trust in her and believe in what she was doing, essentially. I mean, we could take that both ways.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and kind of talking, well, I'll catch up on the chat first before we talk about that. Yeah, the video feed, like when they're talking about the rib cage moving with like one arm.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It goes bananas down with this zombie thing. Yes. Oh no, Charmaine.
When the audiobook started describing the Eros security feed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Appetite gone.
Yes, you're like, I'll eat tomorrow.
Yeah. I thought the Eros experiment was completely separate of Julie's sample. I think it was meant to be separate. I don't know that they meant for Julie to be like the cognitive function.
But when she escaped, when she escaped in the very beginning from where she was being held, that's what initiated that spread, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I wonder if they like meant for her to do that. Okay, let's see. What else? Oh, I'm so behind. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so behind.
The TV show is called The Expanse. Yes, the TV show is on. It's on Prime. It used to be on Sci-Fi, I think. But then it got canceled and Amazon was like, no, we'll take it. And I think season 4 was developed by Amazon.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I'm really excited. I have a Prime. I loved it when Eros dodged the... I'm so glad that you loved it, Roy.
That's when Jessie was like, no.
I have to feel like...
Doesn't really get
explained. Further into the series, it gets explained. Okay. I was hoping it would get explained because that's like my biggest beef right now with the book. Holden was like, did you see that? They're like, it's magic. Did they use Julie's sample on Eros? Yes. I think so. Yes. But someone correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone else imagine the moon from Zelda? Oh, I have not played Zelda, but I think I know what you're talking about. Is it like the purpley kind of?
I've only played Breath of the Wild, and I don't remember that.
Okay. Who loves it? It created a motor capable of folding space-time and thus manipulating gravity. It's very theoretical.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, seriously. Like, whoa.
But I believe you, Pete. I definitely believe you. I was actually thinking this is way too easy towards the end before the crazy dodge, so I was glad the protomolecule was more mysterious. Yeah. That's true. It did make it more difficult. I have to agree.
It jumped into the moving rock.
Yeah.
I'm following it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a couple of other things I'll talk about with the ending, but there's so much to say. And found her body. Yeah. I actually like the whole suddenly. Okay, cool. That's where so subjective. I'm super glad that you guys like that.
I can definitely see that being like a plot hole, though. Like James S.A. Corey, they're like, something needs to happen. So
how are we going to make this
thing here
more difficult? So do you think Leviathan refers to the protomolecule? I meant to look up the definition of Leviathan.
Yeah.
I don't actually. What is someone should have
someone can you please look that
up. Am I the only one who thinks this book is a little delirious? Ooh, interesting. Explain, elaborate. I'm curious what you mean. Wait, did they find her on Eros or the other planet? No, they found her in a shower. She was escaping from the ship, and she was on Eros in the shower when they found her. And that's when they were trying to break out of Eros and get out of there. But then the whole spread happened.
Yeah, spread.
with the proto molecule and they were stuck, but it was because she was there that they were there. So they found her there. Oh, that was already answered. Sorry. Until he called Holden and told him not to blow up.
This man has really lost his mind.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like, okay, so the end, I don't know. I really liked the ending. I feel like Miller, he just kind of hit rock bottom at the end. So I think finding Julie and getting to her at the end and trying to convince her to kind of divert Eros somewhere else. I think that was kind of his last act of what he thought he could do to be a hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like he went to go find her and how his kind of whole mission throughout the whole book was to discover what happened to her. So I like that he kind of ended with that.
Yes. I have to agree on the piece with Miller and Julie and their last moment together, and where he just made the sacrifice knowingly, took off the helmet, grabbed her hand, and had this like really sweet moment with her. I actually really liked that for him. I think it made sense. And I mean, I don't think he'll come back in future books unless the Venus towers like
Venus is an absolute mess.
Yeah, Venus sounded like it was in some dire straits at the end of the book. But yeah, so I will say that Miller's ending made sense to me. And I like that it's almost like that projection or that hallucination of Julie throughout the whole book that he had was almost like his like own conscious. Like,
oh, that's a good way to look. Yeah.
That's how I kind of interpreted it, was like that was his like conscience telling him how to get through these things and how to get through these struggles. And it just took the form of Julie because that was who he felt this connection with. Because it kind of kept changing in his mind after he found Julie, it changed. So that's how I interpret it. So it made sense that like he would end with Julie.
Yeah, definitely.
So I liked that.
I like that. And just how his perspective of Julie changed throughout the entire book. It kind of started as this almost joke that he was looking for her and looking into her life. And then by the end of it, like you mentioned, she did kind of almost become this conscience for him to keep to find out what happened. And I like that. I like the relationship between the two of them. Yeah,
I agree. So I'm curious, who like morally did you relate to more, Holden or Miller? They're so polar opposites.
So morally, I definitely would say Holden for in the beginning. I would like relate it to him morally because I feel like Holden is just like your typical, like trying to be a good guy, smooth talking, like heroic type of person, type of protagonist. And so I did relate to him a lot on the morality scale. But once Miller's story was introduced and you would really see how he would go to any lengths to really uncover what happened to Julie and do what needed to be done. And especially when he shot Dresden, I mean, that's when I started kind of leaning more towards Miller's side of the story. Like, he might not be all twisted. Something might be there. And even I think Naomi pointed out, like, the things that Miller was doing and trying to say, and she agreed with a lot of the stuff that he was up to, but she still thought he was a little crazy, but still.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like in the chat, who you liked more, Miller or Holden, because they're so different. Let's see. I thought Miller was definitely more interesting than Holden. Yeah. Morally, he was very fascinating.
Those morally great characters, they always kind of shake things up. So.
Yeah, I love them. I liked Miller's character much, much more. I think in real life, I'd probably want to be buddies with him more.
Yes.
But I really liked Miller's character.
Yeah, I like Miller's means of getting things done. And I think you see that a lot more towards the end of it. And there's, really puts into perspective what's the right way to go about this and to do things. Like Holden was actually starting to listen to kind of the nonsense that Dresden was saying. And the fact that Miller just shut it down immediately and just kind of took him out. It's like, I feel like that kind of put the whole book into perspective and this really expansive world in this culture and like who is right and who's wrong and what's the best way to actually get things done. So.
Yeah, I agree. And that it's like that moment with Dresden and Miller's choice to just take him out, I feel like either probably won you over for Miller or like made you like, oh no, Miller. And I really liked it.
Yeah, right.
I
liked it too.
It's interesting. It's super interesting. I definitely like Miller more. He's jaded and he knew it. I felt like he was always trying to do the best he could. Yeah. Absolutely. Miller killing Dresden was awesome. Okay. Though I really yeah. I feel like that's like the safe answer, right? Is to like, I relate to Holden more.
It's just on the internet. I related to Holden. I'm a Miller person now. But I mean, I feel like Miller's way, I had a thought about this, like Miller's way of getting things done is so, I think it's a lot more calculated than Holden's perspective and Holden's sort of means of going about things. Because Holden is just like he's so reactive. Like he's just wants to broadcast everything and get it out there and let people know what's going on. And Miller's like, I don't think we should be alerting like the whole system what's happening right now. So I think just in terms of that, I relate to Miller a lot more.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like throughout this entire book, I would say Holden frustrated me so much. And oh my God, I was like, I mean, because you can always see where he's coming from, but he's so naive. Oh yeah, right? It's like he's not jaded to the world yet. He hasn't seen enough or had enough experience. Yeah, you know, I mean, like Miller has, seeing like the true brutality of what humans are capable of.
Yeah, seriously. So I agree with that. And even I mean, even though he has grown up in this kind of tense political war between the systems and the planets, like Holden is still in a sense kind of wide-eyed, and he just thinks that this is the correct way to get things done. So I think especially in book 2, you see a lot of the impact that Miller really had on him when it comes to making decisions and being this, not being the stereotypical like good, quote unquote, good character. So
yeah. And it was interesting how they talked about, if everyone has all the information, they're gonna want to do what's best with it, right? They're not gonna want to use it to their own advantage. Yeah. And they quickly realize, oh my God, that I think the moment was like Earth and Mars went to war against each other after Holden broadcasted that it was an Earth ship, right? It was like, God, of course. And as a reader, you're like
far away from the broadcast system.
Yeah, but it's like you can understand like why he would think that way if he's never had a different experience. So it's interesting. Let's see. As this book is about a divided humanity losing to a foreign force of nature, I think that's a cool thing to notice. Let's see. Character-wise, Miller is more interesting.
Miller for me.
I like them both about the same.
Yeah, Miller is definitely more interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is a good one. Not gonna lie. Dresden had me convinced. So I understand why Miller shot it. That's really a good comment though.
That's a good point.
Yeah. As a reader, you should be able to kind of relate to what Dresden's saying. So it's even more shocking when Miller shoots him. Yeah. It's for the best. Miller was more compelling. I completely agree with his decision to off Dresden. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to believe the best.
Miller, he's extremely compelling, but that comment about, kind of relating to what Dresden was saying, that was kind of scary because I do remember reading that part and being like, yeah, I can get with it. What he's saying. Yeah. I mean, if you just kind of get, do away with Eros, then those people did pretty much die for no reason. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. Oh my goodness. I think both were great characters and made the reader think, but I didn't necessarily like either.
Naomi, I'm with you. I love Naomi. I finished the book and I was like, I'm team Naomi Nagata for probably the rest of my life. So
I love it. It's interesting. I think I'll probably like Naomi if she like removes herself from the romance with Holden. Because I was not crazy about Holden in this book, and I'll probably like him as I get to know him more. I'm wondering if he becomes more cynical in future books. I bet he does. I bet he has this arc where he's like more and more cynical every book. But yeah, because I felt like Holden you would have these huge moments, right, where Earth and Mars are going to war over something he just broadcast, and then you get into his perspective, and he's like, I wonder where Naomi is.
I wonder if I can get some right now. Yeah.
Don't you be reflecting on what you just did?
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, but yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, he's so naive. He's just a little goofy, very reactive to things. So, I mean, him and Miller finally getting together, I think, was just so good for Holden, as as a hero, quote unquote, as a leader, just to have that impact and kind of that different, like, bad boy side that Miller provided.
Yes. Holden emotionally reacts to everything. Miller thinks things through first. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Holden reminded me of Tao, our superhero.
Leader of Dragon.
What? No. No. That's so funny, Monica.
That's an interesting comparison, though.
Yeah, that is interesting, because it's like thinking with I see what you mean, Monica, because it's like you just react with your heart instead of with your brain. You just do kind of the first thing that you think of. You don't have a plan, really. It's just
I can definitely kind of see that. But unlike Holden, at least Tao was a little more calculated. Tao was just like, I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna kill everybody who. I'm sorry if somebody hasn't read The Rage of Dragons.
Well, luckily, most of these people, I think, have read Rage of Dragons.
He's so dead set on, like, the end goal and is working his way to that. And I just think Holden definitely teaches Holden to be more calculated and more, find those morally gray spaces where different ideas can work in a variety of situations. So
yes, I agree. Like how flawed and ordinary Holden and Miller were, so realistic compared to the I mean, that's true. They felt very real because they were so flawed. So it was interesting, making that decision by the authors, because I've seen a couple people say neither were likable. And I think that's interesting because they are so flawed that they could come across as unlikable. Yeah. And that's a risk that the author kind of has to accept taking. Like, if we're going to make them this flawed, everybody may not get on board with them, but it does make them, like, more human.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I like the fact that Miller, though, was, because I mean, he's Belter born and raised, but I like the fact that, or was he originally from Earth? Well, he just works for Earth. I'm blanking on Miller's backstory, but the fact that he's basically a product of the Belter environment, so that does make him a more hardened character and kind of seeing things a variety of different ways. So I love the fact that the characters match the environments that they came from and that the experiences that they've had. Yeah.
Let's see. Way bigger fan of Holden over Miller in a moral sense. Both are interesting characters. Not a fan of former policeman or anyone taking justice into his own hands. It's a good point. That's a good point. And it's like, it is an interesting discussion about morality. Like, it's not okay to take justice in your own hands, even if you know that what you're doing might be the right thing. Like, is it?
Yeah. And the fact that that his captain even told Miller to stop looking into it, completely fired him, and he's like, I'm still gonna do what I want to do. I don't have anything left to lose, basically. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, I felt that Holden was too trigger happy in terms of not thinking things through. So it's kind of the same thing with Holden. It's like, okay, broadcasting all that information may not be the same thing as killing Dresden, just like it dead or cold blood, but in a way what Holden did was even more harmful. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Miller extremes of each other. I disagreed with both of them all the time. Yes.
The whole Ashley's like, nope.
Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi's great.
Not a fan of the romance here. Yes, that's the thing. That Naomi deserves better.
Yeah. A couple moments in there though where I feel like she was standing up for herself though, like, look, this is how it's gonna be, this is the you're not this person sort of thing. So she definitely is one for taking a stand when the time calls for it.
It's true. I want to know if I got the ending right. Does Holden join Fred's crew? In a way, I think they like work for each other when it's beneficial to both of them. But I think that they ended kind of not really working together, because the epilogue was Fred giving the press conference about what happened.
Yeah.
And Holden and him were still going at it about how they wanted to portray Miller.
Yeah.
And, you know, Fred wanted to make him this icon. And
I look at them as like independent contractors now at this point.
Yeah.
For Fred's crew.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of unclear if Holden's going to continue to be in his crew, but I kind of interpreted it as not really.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you agree with Fred or Holden in how Miller should be remembered? Ooh, Tori. You want to answer that one?
No, because I read book 2.
Okay, so I'll talk about like from a book 1 only perspective. Okay. I don't know because I don't know how. Like I guess it was not totally clear who. Maybe I just missed it. Who they were giving the press conference to, like who the audience was. Was it just like the average like Joe Schmo on planet Earth, or was it like people who were involved? I have no idea. I kind of missed the context of that press conference. So I think it kind of depends on the context of it and what people need to hear. But I don't know. Charmaine, I'd be interested what you think. I don't have a good answer. I don't know.
I would say based on just talking about this, I don't mind the way that they ended the first book.
Okay.
That is very vague, but I'll keep it there.
I mean, because I liked Miller's ending and his character. Yeah. So I was like, I mean, I hope they don't like make him like into too bad of a guy. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm curious what others think. They don't have to be likable to be interesting, but they don't have to be likable, but interesting. Yes.
But interesting. Holden was not interesting. Miller and
Naomi were.
Yeah. I can get behind that. Yeah. I like Holden. I still like him. I feel like he's just Holden is so young throughout this whole book compared to, I mean, not obviously, but mentally, he's so in over his head and just so unprepared for. He's just kind of thrust into this position. And you're basically watching him kind of fumble throughout the whole book and try to grow and learn the politics of everything.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with how Fred wants Miller to be remembered, though. It makes sense. Yeah. I don't think Miller viewed it as justice. Didn't he have a whole conversation himself where he recognizes it was vengeance? Oh, I missed. Oh, darn. That was probably about something earlier. I missed it. I don't know. Holden caused a war because of his impulsive personality. Come on. Yeah. Not a huge fan of Holden at all. Okay. It was government officials for Earth, Mars, and the OPA. Or the press conference was kind of everyone.
Yeah, the whole system.
Okay. So it was the whole solar system. I mean.
I thought that, I kind of took that it was the system. Was the epilogue.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Miller should be portrayed as like this horrendous guy. Right? I think if you give like a balanced, like he self-sacrificed, he did this amazing thing, but he was a flawed individual, right? Yeah. So you can kind of celebrate him, but also still point out the flaws. I don't know. Was the epilogue necessary? I guess we'll find out in book 2.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I would, but I'm always weird about prologues and epilogues and that kind of thing. But the epilogue, it didn't really add anything I don't think it added anything to book 2 or even just the end of book 1. Like we could have just remembered Miller the way he went out in this self-sacrificial way and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Okay.
Book 2 is even better than book 1. I have some unpopular opinions about book 2, so I'm going to leave it there.
Wait, did you not like it as much?
I didn't enjoy it as much. I still enjoyed it, but not as much. We meet some new characters in book 2, and we go to some different planets in book 2. And I felt like some of the central parts of the story were not always where I wanted to be at the particular time, if that makes sense. Like I felt we were on Earth too long in some situations. The plot would just get good with another set of characters, and then we would switch again to characters I didn't care about. So I felt like book 2 was a weird balance of juggling new characters and a new kind of threat that emerges.
Interesting. Okay. Because I will say that's one of the positives of this one, where both perspectives, for me at least, were just as interesting as the other. You know, there were some times in the book where I was like, no, I really want to follow Miller, or no, I really want to follow Holden. But both of them generally were very equal in terms of like,
even both of their perspectives. I think Holden and Miller's, I feel like it balanced the plot out a lot. But with book 2, if I'm remembering correctly, there's like 4 new perspectives in book 2, and so now you have this what should be a really interesting plot kind of thinned out across 4 different characters now at this point. So I think that kind of bogged a little bit of the
interesting
book 2, but it was still good. Like, I'm still excited to read book 3 and continue on with the series. But yeah.
Okay. Have you only read the first 2 books?
I've only read the first 2. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure my answer, but I partly agree with Holden. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's like he recognized his sacrifice and what he did, but also don't idolize him because he was a flawed human being, and everyone's a flawed human being, and we really shouldn't idolize or put anyone on like this huge pedestal. I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you prefer the book or the show?
Ooh, I prefer the book.
Okay.
I mean, I think the show is such a great, they bring it to life so well. So it is a nice companion, and just kind of, you know, if you want to watch the show alongside reading the book, but I definitely prefer the book. I think you get a lot more of you get a broader understanding, I think, of the culture of the book. And if you try to watch, because I've had friends that do this, if you try to watch the TV show before reading the book, you might be a little confused. But I feel like with the book, I mean, the world building, it just kind of expands gradually, and we're getting just a little bit of the belt and the politics of, you know, Mars and Earth and everything, and it just feels a little more digestible than just kind of watching the show go by for like 9 episodes. So I would definitely prefer the book, but I like the show too.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this would be a lot to put in one season of television.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job, but definitely, like, I don't know, I love, what really hooked me about this book was just the politics and the culture. I love the belt, and just the, you know, seeing everybody in the belt and the politics of that was just, it was my favorite part of the story.
Yeah. So just, I know that they have a couple of things that they're talking about in the chat. Didn't they stop and redirect the ship back once Eros went full spaceship power? There would be no point to destroying the ship at that point. Which ship are you talking about?
Wait, what are we talking? I'm sorry, I got lost.
I got lost too. I'm so sorry, Marie. Which ship are you talking about?
Did not know there was a TV show. Yeah, that's a TV show. You should. I highly recommend the show, but definitely after you read the book. It's a pretty cool experience. The show is good.
Okay. I'm glad I watched the show first. Okay. It enhanced my reading enjoyment immensely. Okay, interesting. Yeah, and there were a couple things that, so it's an interesting thing. I'm kind of speaking for Abby, who is in the Discord server. She's in the chat a lot, and she had a lot of things to say because she was not as positive about the book, and she couldn't make the live show. So I'm going to like talk for her. Sorry, Abby, I'm putting words in your mouth. But I know that one of her things that she wanted to talk about was the world building. So she had a lot of issues with things like how they brushed over Holden having like 5 moms and like dad from Earth, and like things like how the Belters were like physically different was not like described, and how the Martians and the Earthens were physically different wasn't described. And kind of, it was interesting because earlier we mentioned how they don't really handhold you at all with the world building. You kind of just dropped in. So you don't know how Earth has kind of expanded into the solar system and taken over and colonized Mars, the asteroid belt. So it's an interesting discussion of like world building and kind of what you prefer, because for me, I didn't mind kind of being dropped in and not having the context and the history. But I can see how, like, if you want that, like, if you need more of an explanation.
You need more. Yeah. No, I can definitely see where Abby's coming from. Like, I assume that he had that many parents because of overpopulation issues. Oh, well, yeah, there is okay, I remember there is a population issue on Earth, but I just really took kind of the things we glossed over as what's possible in this kind of expansive world, this expansive culture. And then as far as like the Belters and their differences with Martians and people on Earth, I definitely think the gravity impacts, well, the lack of gravity rather, like impacts, you know, the way that they form and the way that they grow and everything like that. So that was, I assume.
Yeah. I think I think it's fair. Like if you need more world building or need more explanation and context, I can see how this would bother you. But it personally didn't bother me.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. That is interesting though.
Yeah. So Ariel, anyone think Fred will use the sample that Holden gave him to kind of dictate Earth? Do we trust Fred? A question for you in the chat. Do we trust Fred? Because I do not. I definitely don't trust Fred. I think he's up to no good.
I don't think any one person should have that much power in their hands.
Every set is biased. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I do not.
Yeah. And that's such, what that comment just kind of hits the nail on the head for, oh no, we don't trust Fred. That comment though about it's hard to be objective when it comes to power. I think that's kind of the foundation, the core of the entire book. We have this expansive, everybody has kind of spread out and colonized all these different planets, and the way that people use power to their advantage and the resources to their advantage is what's making up pretty much the culture and the foundation of the story. So that's definitely nail on the head right there.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's interesting. No, he's politics liable to be a stick of grass in the one thing. And that's the thing. I think, you know, everyone has a different idea of what's right.
Yeah.
And if you just, I don't know, just like one person in charge of that, I don't know.
It can be difficult. Yeah. It seems to me that it's a population issue. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was about the parents. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we're talking about, you know, Holden is this goody character and, you know, how we don't like him. But I feel like Holden, though, he's almost like the most morally consistent character. Yeah. Yes, like he does have moments that come up where he is a little bit shaken on, you know, things that are right and what he should do. But I think he's kind of our center. Yeah. And he's not really shaken on what he thinks is right. And you see that continue throughout, well, at least in the second book, you see that continue.
Yeah. Andy, I love this. Fred is
people doing what they want with the power that's given to them. I think we can count on Holden to do the morally right thing in most situations. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree. I love that. He's totally the Tywin Lannister. I don't trust him.
Calling
He's gonna do something. Okay, is the actor who plays? Oh, this is for you, Tori.
I have no idea.
I don't know either. Yeah, I agree, Ashley. Stop sharing information. Okay, so
I'm with you. Like every time just a nugget of information comes through, Holden is like, they did it. Everybody needs to know what happened.
Free information for everybody.
And the whole system is just in chaos afterwards. So yeah. He's a hot on the broadcast.
Yeah, causing 2 wars. That's good. So I wanted to talk about the ending just a little bit more because that was kind of my biggest beef was the asteroid moving on its own. And, you know, I think okay, so I know it's not explained because the characters don't know what's going on. And because you are only limited to 2 perspectives, neither of which know how this is possible, you as the reader are probably not going to know how this is possible, which is okay. For me, though, with science fiction specifically, I just have to know something. Like I have to know like the real science behind, like it just has to be a little bit more believable to me.
Yeah.
I think with fantasy, you know, you kind of expect that, but sci-fi, you expect just a little bit more something grounded in
a little bit grounded in actual
reality or science or fact or, you know, whatever. And Naomi even said it at one point, it appears like magic. Like we know it's not magic, but it seems like magic. If they had just had one character on the side, like the little scientist character who's just like, oh, this is how it could be possible.
But that's interesting though, because well, at least with the proto-molecule spreading, I cannot say that word for some reason. With it spreading, it's like we almost don't know what's possible with it. And that Protogen, they were using this Eros experiment to really get to the core of, you know, what is happening, what is this about. But it just so happens that Holden comes along and just kind of drives attention to everything. But I think that is fascinating though, because, you know, we didn't really get to what this molecule can actually do. And Eros didn't, and, you know, Protogen didn't really even have a chance to explore the depths of what it was capable of. So there could be some scientific fact-based reason why Julie can like become part of Eros and make it move and everything.
And it's probably gonna be explained. I think the other thing with the ending was how it just seemed wildly improbable that this little crew who, I mean, really, no one knows, because everything happens so quickly. So no one really knows who like Holden is, and how like Earth got in contact, like the UNN contacted Holden and was like, hey, like you screwed up our nukes. And you know what? Like the fact that dialogue could even happen, I was like,
he's like the people controlling the nukes from Earth, like, no. Oh,
like, how did Holden and his crew, and I know Fred has a lot of power, so them hooking up with Fred kind of made a lot of this stuff, you know, you can explain some of it because of Fred.
They definitely put the spotlight a lot more on them. Fred got involved.
So there was just some things at the end that was just
I can see that though.
The nukes getting rerouted. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. Like they're just gonna take a little detour. Don't worry about it.
That kind of got me. Like I do remember like that the first time I read this. I'm like, how are they buying these nukes time? Until like contact. Okay, so I'm glad we're
it's like the rerouting of the nukes temporarily, Earth being like, can you not? And then being like, no, but don't worry, we got it. And they're like, okay.
We'll hold it for a few hours. You have some time.
That was just kind of like, what? Again, I think it's going to be explained in future books. So that's why I'm like very excited to continue. I think I'm going to really enjoy it.
It's pretty epic.
So I'm curious what everyone else thought of the ending, if it bothered you at all, or if you were just like, cool, sounds good.
I saw a hilarious comment from Ashley come through that just,
oh boy.
What is it?
I think my comments are behind. They're like not loading at all.
Ashley said, Holden's like, oh, that's for sure going on Facebook, just like my mother. Ashley, I am dying right now. What?
Oh my God. Just sharing any information to Facebook.
He's like, post to Twitter.
So funny. All he said was that they found a Martian battery and Mars attacked. Oh yeah, when Holden broadcasted the information.
Yeah.
Is Holden eventually going to evolve into sci-fi Karen?
No.
Oh my God.
What? Oh my gosh.
Considering the protomolecule could reanimate body parts, I didn't mind the ending or the moving planet. Yeah. Fair.
The protomolecule to be blown up.
I think everybody else
it kind of was destroyed when it hit the atmosphere of Venus, sort of, maybe.
Yeah, I'm curious how Venus is going to play a role. Like, is it just going to take over Venus now and just make even more of a mess?
Oh, things are happening on Venus now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they created quite a mess at the end of this book.
I'm so excited. Oh man. Okay. So, I mean, that was really like what I wanted to cover, was just like overall, I had fun with it.
Yeah.
You know, I think the middle of the book for me was like the strongest. I love that whole Eros scene. That was so good.
Good. Yeah. Eros is such a great part of the book.
Yeah. And like, I really do like the overall feel of it, how political it is. The ending did leave me wanting to know more. I just really need to know how the the asteroid moved. I just need to know.
Well, I am curious for you to read book 2 because like I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but like I mentioned, we do have more perspectives, and one of those perspectives is on Earth, and the proto-molecule does get a little more attention in book 2.
Yes. If we just get like a little bit of a scientist perspective to like explain, I'm curious. More of a mess is an understatement. Oh boy.
Pete, it's the understatement of the year.
Oh boy. So what's your definite rating? I rated it 3.5 because I really did enjoy it for the most part, but just some of the characters and man, that ending, I just wanted a little bit different, but again, totally subjective, obviously, because a lot of people love the ending. So I'm very, very.
I can totally see you reading this and like enjoying it, and then as soon as Eros moves, you're like, oh no, we're closing this. We're putting this down.
Yes. So that's my overall thoughts. So Tori, do you want to share overall thoughts, closing statements?
Yeah, I mean, this was, like I said, this is what got me out of a reading slump. I was just so excited to finally experience a space opera that's epic on this scale, and just, I don't know, I have this love for like culture in sci-fi novels and really exploring the cultures of different planets and between people. So I mean, this kind of hit every box that I had when I was reading through it. I loved it. I love the morality, questions of the characters. So
yeah, I mean, obviously it had really interesting themes to explore.
Yeah.
If we were able to just talk this long about, Holden versus Miller.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So I really enjoyed like some of the themes that were explored and stuff in this. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tori, for joining. I'm so glad that this was the pick that we decided on, because it was so much fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm so glad I finally read it. And it sounded like most everyone really enjoyed it. So I'm very, very happy about that.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I love this.
Yes. So thank you again. For those of you who don't know, next month's book is Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong, which I'm very excited about. Tori, have you read Sword of Kaigen yet?
I haven't. I have seen so many booktubers that I love raving about this book. So I think it's going to be my early 2021 read.
Awesome.
I do have it on my shelf, so I'm excited for that. But
I'm crossing my fingers that I'll love it as much as everybody else. If you want to join for Sword of Kaigen, that is for next month. Very, very excited. And thank you just again so much. This has been so much fun.
Oh, thank you, Jessie. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good rest of your night.
Bye.
Bye.